So our natural state is happiness. It's very simple. Just sitting there being happiness. So the complexity of even spiritual systems of thought, the complexity is in the deprogramming. There's no complexity in being. It's the simplest thing. You just stop and be still and notice that you are the frame of reference upon which everything arises. So those theories that I produce are the deprogramming that is meant to break consciousness out of probably the deepest trances that there are, and that is mathematics and physics and science, because it appears as though there's truth pointing to reality in those systems, but what if it's only the relative truth? What if all it can do is point to the illusion? What if all it can do is explain the illusion? Because you're not really happy when you're thinking, when you're doing science or mathematics. It's interest, right? It's interesting to the mind, but it's not happiness. So what we've done is we've traded in, when we entered this game, we traded in our happiness at the coat check for entertainment and interest. And some people have maybe lost their coat check. But the coat's still there waiting for you. You can exit. If you find the exit to the club in your drunken state, because the exit's always one step away. Right now, no matter what condition or state you believe that you are in, you are able to just listen. Now, you're not listening for anything, you're just listening. In a way, you are the listening, right? That's the attention. You're focusing, you are attentive to the attention. So just start there. Start anywhere. Use any trick that you can to find the stillness and the silence that is the happiness if you get through all the boredom, all the resistances that the ego throws up to get you out of that stillness, because that's the game. There's nothing evil going on. You've agreed to this and you're playing along. If there's only one, if you're the only consciousness, if you're the only awareness that exists, then to be in a state of delusion is like acting. You're acting, and you're such a good actor that you've convinced yourself and everyone else around you that you're not God. So at any point, you can just release the facade and just get fucking real. But everyone else is acting at the same level. And it's almost like if you make people aware of it, either it freaks them out or they get upset because they still want to play. They don't want to stop. They still want to play, but they don't want to play if it includes the suffering. But that's the deal, is that the suffering is actually your reminder that you're in a game. And what's happened with technology is that it's tried to alleviate that suffering, the physical suffering. So we keep shoving that under the rug. So that flashing neon sign that's saying you're suffering, and this suffering is an indication that something is incorrect, something is amiss here, something's a little bit off. And then you stop searching because, well, if I'm not suffering, then everything's woohoo, it's party time. But again, like I've said over and over, the physical suffering has just flipped over to psychological suffering. And if you don't sit in a chair in stillness and find your base, just you, right? The base is just you. You exist. And in the end, that's all that you can be assured of is your existence. So that has to be the frame of reference for your state, your overall state, whether you're happy, whether you're suffering. But if you're staring at a screen and being tossed about with these manufactured emotions and distracted, a heroin addict doesn't have a problem until they're out of heroin. And our heroin is readily available all the time, even in changing rooms, in gyms. And the backs of seats in airplanes, and right? So there's no problem, is there, heroin addict? What's the problem? Well, if you sit in a chair and just be still in and of yourself, if you can't do that, then there's a problem. So you have to be contrarian to everything and everyone and everything that everyone is doing. You just have to not do it. But the not doing must be done. You see what I mean? You have to not look at the screen. You have to not think. You have to actually engage in it. And right now, well, always right now, but right now in the relative realm of these cycles is really important right now. Everything that you do and everything you focus on is of utmost importance. But Maya, which is the programming of this algorithm that you've participated in, of your own creation, it's pretty efficient at pulling your attention into delusion. Because it's got all of humanity, doesn't it? So, at the risk of losing views, if you've been watching my stuff or reading other people's stuff that says that you need to engage in this, it's the practice that matters. The path actually is the practice. Reading about the path, sniffing the finger, isn't the path. You have to actually walk to get onto the path. But again, it's only one step, which is so it's a constant reminding that when you notice that your attention is on thoughts or sensations, you just stay with the noticing or the noticer. So you're aware that you're focused on thought, then just move to the awareness. If you are aware of a sensation, notice that you're aware of a sensation and stay with that which is aware. Not what you are aware of, not what the awareness is aware of, but what the awareness is. And every time, so this is the practice. Every time a question comes up, well, you drop that too. So you don't have to ask me anything. You don't have to ask anyone anything. You don't have to search anymore. You don't have to have this reaffirmed by some exterior source. So every time a question comes up, you drop it. Every time a suggestion comes up in your mind to do something, you just drop it. Now, if a sensation comes up that you're thirsty, well, then watch the body get up and get a drink. When hungry, watch the body get up and eat until it's satiated. It's the thoughts, oh, this is delicious, that makes you overeat. It's so incredibly simple in theory, but in practice, to not act on those thoughts, but to just watch them arise and pass. Even the ones that seem so important. If only I got the answer to this one question, right? It's all meaningless. All of those thoughts are meaningless. And the part that you need to have faith in is when I tell you that beyond the boredom, beyond all that restlessness and anxiety, is so just attend to it. You're not being tortured by demons, right? It's just boredom and restlessness. So it's really not that difficult, is it? Quit your whining and sit in a chair and just be. It's the easiest thing. Wouldn't it be the easiest thing to not do anything? What's hard in letting go? There's no effort in letting go. It's the picking it back up that requires the effort. So 10 million times, if that's what it takes, 10 million times, be aware that you're on thought, that you're in thought, and then just stay with the awareness, and that thought will disappear. If you realize that you're in pain, then let go of that as well and notice, stay with the awareness. If you notice that you're in pleasure, then notice the noticer and notice that it passes. So that's it. There's no need to make it complicated. You just got to sit and do the work, do the non-work, do the not do. Like, what would you suppose communion with God would be like? It can't be a high because a high would necessitate a low, and it can't be temporary because God is omnipresent. What else is omnipresent? Aren't you always here? You're always here. And so is God. I can't even say 1 + 1 = 2 because even that's bullshit. But that's in a different video.